Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a story that literally changed how we see the world and each other. It's a tale of curiosity, a mysterious glow, and a discovery that happened almost completely by accident. We're talking about the discovery of X-rays and the brilliant mind behind them, Wilhelm Conrad Röntgen. So picture this. It's the late 19th century. Science is booming. People are experimenting with electricity, vacuums, and all sorts of invisible forces. Our story starts in Würzburg, Germany, in the lab of a 50-year-old physics professor named Wilhelm Röntgen. He was a well-respected but not particularly famous scientist at the time. He was known for being incredibly meticulous, a bit of a loner in his work, and someone who loved to get his hands dirty with experiments. On the evening of November 8, 1895, Röntgen was working late, as he often did. He was experimenting with something called a cathode ray tube. Now, this might sound super technical, but think of it as a glass tube with most of the air pumped out, with electrodes at each end. When you run a high voltage through it, it creates a stream of electrons, the cathode rays. These tubes were pretty common in labs back then, and scientists were fascinated by the faint glow they produced. To see this faint glow better, Röntgen had covered his tube with thick black cardboard, making his lab completely dark. He turned on the power, and that's when something truly bizarre happened. A few feet away, on a workbench, something else began to glow. It was a small screen coated with a chemical called barium platinocyanide, a material that fluoresces or lights up when hit by certain kinds of light. Röntgen was baffled. The cathode ray tube was completely covered. No visible light could possibly be escaping. So what was causing this screen to glow? He turned the power off, and the glow stopped. He turned it back on, and the glow returned. He was onto something, but he had no idea what. He called these mysterious, invisible rays X-rays, X4 unknown. For the next 7 weeks, Röntgen practically lived in his laboratory. He was consumed by this mystery. He ate and slept there, telling no one, not even his wife, Anna Bertha, what he was working on. He was obsessed with understanding the properties of these strange new rays. He tested everything he could think of. He found that the X-rays could travel in straight lines, just like light. But unlike light, they weren't reflected or refracted easily. He started placing different objects between the tube and the fluorescent screen to see what would happen. Book? The rays went right through. A piece of wood? Same thing. A sheet of aluminum. Still they passed through. But when he used a piece of lead, it blocked the rays completely. It seemed different materials had different levels of transparency to these X-rays. This is where the story takes a truly iconic turn. In a moment of scientific inspiration, he decided to place his own hand in the path of the rays. He looked at the fluorescent screen and was stunned. He could see the faint outline of his flesh, and inside it, the dark, solid shapes of his bones. He had seen inside his own living body. Can you imagine the shock and awe of that moment? It must have felt like something out of science fiction. Realizing the magnitude of his discovery, he knew he needed a permanent record. He replaced the fluorescent screen with a photographic plate. He asked his wife, Anna Bertha, to come to the lab. He had her place her hand on a cassette holding a photographic plate and exposed it to the X-rays for about 15 minutes. Along with the wedding ring on her finger, sharp and dark. When Anna Bertha saw the image, she reportedly exclaimed, "I have seen my death." It was the world's first ever X-ray image, or Röntgenogram, as it was first called. Röntgen knew he couldn't keep this to himself any longer. On December 28, 1895, he submitted a paper to his local scientific journal, titled, "On a New Kind of Rays." The news spread like wildfire. Within days, newspapers around the world were heralding this incredible breakthrough. The public was absolutely captivated. The idea of being able to see inside the human body without surgery was revolutionary. The medical applications were immediately obvious. They were used to find bullets in wounded soldiers, locate broken bones, and diagnose all sorts of internal ailments. It was a complete game-changer for medicine. Before X-rays, doctors were mostly guessing what was happening inside a patient. Now, they could see. But the public's fascination also led to some pretty weird ideas. People were worried about X-ray vision being used to see through walls and clothes. opportunistic merchants started selling X-ray-proof underwear. For his incredible discovery, Wilhelm Röntgen was awarded the very first Nobel Prize in Physics in 1901. In a remarkable act of generosity and dedication to science, he refused to patent his discovery. He believed that his findings belonged to humanity and that everyone should be able to benefit from them without cost. He even donated his Nobel Prize money to his university. He was a true scientist, driven by a quest for knowledge, not fame or fortune. Sadly, the early pioneers of X-ray technology, including Röntgen himself, were unaware of the dangers. They had no idea that prolonged exposure to this radiation could be harmful. Many early researchers and doctors suffered from radiation burns, hair loss, and eventually cancer from working with X-ray equipment without any protection. It took years to understand these risks and develop the safety protocols, like lead aprons and shields, that are standard practice today. Röntgen's discovery wasn't just a medical marvel. It completely revolutionized physics. The discovery of X-rays opened the door to a whole new world of subatomic particles and quantum mechanics. It showed scientists that there was more to the universe than what we could see with our eyes. His work paved the way for other monumental discoveries, like radioactivity by Henri Becquerel and Marie Curie. So, the next time you see an X-ray image, whether it's at a hospital or even at airport security, take a moment to think about that dark lab in Germany in 1895. Think about one man's curiosity, his meticulous work, and the accidental glow that forever changed our world. Wilhelm Röntgen wasn't looking for fame or fortune. He was just a scientist following a mysterious light in the dark. And in doing so, he gave us all a new way to see. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the greatest discoveries come not from knowing all the answers, but from asking the right questions about the things we don't understand. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into scientific history, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories like this. Let me know in the comments what other scientific discoveries you'd like to hear about. Until next time, stay curious.